Have you ever been like at a public restroom, like at work or something, and you hear two people trying to have a conversation while they're sitting in the toilet stalls? Like, is your conversation so important that you couldn't just wait to like drop a deuce, wipe your ass, and then maybe have the conversation? I'm not sure exactly how that works. Also, how can you even concentrate while you're sitting on there and trying to have a conversation simultaneously? I don't know, especially when there's like plopping going on. People are weird and that shouldn't be socially acceptable. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's get straight into today's video because we are actually talking about some action figure flippers, some scalpers that potentially could have lost quite a bit of money. That's essentially what today's video is all about. We're going to talk about some exclusive Marvel Legends action figures that were very difficult to find for quite some time, and they are dropping quite a bit in price. Now, I've often said this and I'll continue saying it. I think, my leading theory is that a lot of these eBay sellers are not just normies trying to go to Target or Walmart and purchase one or two of these and try to flip them. I think the number one resellers on eBay definitely have to be like legitimate businesses. They probably buy directly from Hasbro or indirectly, like pallets worth of these figures, and they're probably able to get a really good deal. Hasbro doesn't care. There's a percentage of product that goes to them, and they're able to resell it on eBay. If the item isn't going to sell like hotcakes, they usually keep it around their retail price. But if they for any reason see that people are like giving their kidneys just for some of these figures, then they usually mark up the price point. That's like the number one, I think, source of resellers on eBay. But there is a huge percentage of like legitimate store employees being able to get these figures with heavy discounts, whether it's like their employee discount, maybe they put in a discount for the product maybe being damaged on top of their employee discount, and maybe they're able to knock off like another 25 to 30% off the figure. Because I've said this before, somebody buys a figure for $25 and they try to resell it for $45 on eBay. The profit margin is so slim there. If you account for like taxes, you're paying closer to about $28. You have to account for shipping, which is another like $8 to $9, $10, and then eBay fees. So the profit margins are so slim that I don't think it's just randos. I do think that there are some here and there, especially if it's an item that is doubling or tripling in value. But in most cases, as I said, it's like eBay, legitimate eBay retailers or store employees that are able to get really good heavy discounts on the collectibles, and then they're able to resell them on eBay. But I will say it makes me happy. It brings a smile to my face when people like overbuy a particular collectible and then are stuck with like 50 of these, and now they can't move them. They can't really do anything because they're just not moving. They're not selling. And I think the community as a whole has been pretty smart about this. Now, I'm not going to try to like control the narrative. There are some outliers. There are some examples of action figures that are consistently still selling for decent prices. Like you have the Venomized Walmart exclusive Captain America that is still going for almost $50. You have the Marvel Legends Walmart exclusive retro carded Venom that is also going for, I should say, like $55 to $60 with everything included. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's like that new mid torso, and we had never seen Venom with that new mid torso. We had always seen him with a hinge, even though the neck was downgraded, but that's a conversation for a completely different video. Anyways, there are some examples of action figures that were at one point like sky high and have come down over the past few months. I will say one more example of a figure that has actually continuously sustained value. You have like the Target exclusive Spider-Man Noir from the Across the Spider-Verse film franchise that has usually sustained value now for a few years. It's going, consistently for well over $50. I would say closer to like 55 to 60. So that's just another prime example of certain collectibles still being outliers. I believe the Warbird action figure as well has sustained a decent amount of value. It's going for about like 50 to 55 as well. So those are just examples of some figures that continue to be somewhat hot, or maybe it's because they're more modern, or maybe it's because of the particular character that we're dealing with. However, there are some great examples of these scalpers just being stuck with a ton of different action figures, and I think it's a victory for collectors as a whole. You have, for example, the Marvel Legends retro carded Target exclusive Carnage action figure, which was somewhat reused. I think that there was a new head sculpt and new accessory pieces that could be ported onto the hands, but for the most part, it was a reuse of that older, what was it, the Venom Pool wave Carnage, and that one was pretty consistent for, you know, like a year or so. It was going for about like 50 to 55, even as high as $60. It was a very difficult figure to find. I actually found like maybe a handful at my local Target. I only picked up the one that I needed, but it was a very highly sought after figure. People were going insane. People were, you know, trying to trade their children in for this figure. And unfortunately, and I should say fortunately for collectors, unfortunately for scalpers or action figure flippers, the figure has dropped astronomically in price. You're looking at about $35, which is a crazy decrease from that like 55 to, you know, $60 price point that we were seeing it for a very extended period of time. You have the, what was it, I believe it was a Target exclusive Bagman Marvel Legends action figure that also garnered quite a bit of attention, spiked in price for a considerable amount of time, but then now you're seeing it closer to like the $30 price point. I've seen some eBay auctions end at like very high 20s or very low 30s. So as low as like $31 to $32, that's a great value. You're paying a little bit of a markup, but it's not as bad as it was, you know, like a year or two ago when you did have to pay closer to that $50 price point. You also have that all-wide retro carded Moon Knight Target exclusive Marvel Legends action figure. Also was kind of difficult to find for a pretty good stretch. It actually went on clearance for like a month or so. It sold out and then it spiked a little bit on the third party on eBay, you know, Facebook, Amazon, whatever the case may be, and then eventually spiked back up and then now has dropped quite a bit in price. Same thing if you look at some of these eBay auctions, this figure has sold for as low as like $27 to about like $30. If you're looking to buy it now, if you don't want to go through the stress of a bidding war with another collector, you can actually pick this up for about like $32 to $33. And the list just continues and it goes on. You have the Marvel Legends, I believe it was a Walmart exclusive comic book Doctor Strange. It came with, you know, a great head sculpt, some great accessories. It was, you know, a action figure that people were going insane for. I think there was a small little re-release, if I'm not mistaken, for this figure, like a couple of months after its release, but, or I should say about like half a year after its release. But originally this figure, I remember seeing it for as high as $60. Like people were just losing their minds over this particular action figure, and it's because we don't get a lot of comic book accurate Doctor Strange action figures. This was like a more classic rendition rather than a lot of the more modern stuff that we were getting, whether it was MCU or something based on like the What If franchise, things of that nature. This was a more classic representation and people just wanted something like that in their display. Same thing with the Secret Empire Walmart exclusive Captain America. This is also an action figure that has seen its ups and downs, but now is probably the biggest downfall that we've seen thus far. You can find this figure for low 30s, very affordable. Yes, you're paying somewhat of a markup, but it's only about like $5 to $6 from the original retail price point. And then lastly, I'll give you guys one last example. There's the Amazing Fantasy retro carded Marvel Legends Spider-Man that was a Target exclusive from back in the day. This is a figure, if I'm not mistaken, that was a little bit more expensive. If I remember correctly, it was about $27. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me, but it was on the newer body mold, and I believe at the time it was supposed to be one of the new Marvel Legends body molds, Spider-Man body molds that was kind of pushing the envelope a little bit more. And this was just a prime example, a prime representation of that era where the tech was getting really good. We were getting pinless technology. We were getting double midsection articulation. We were getting great butterfly joints. It was just probably one of the best Marvel Legends Spider-Man action figures at the time. People really wanted it, and it was very, very difficult to come by. Well, it's very similar in price point to some of the characters that we've mentioned. You can pick it up for like high 20s. I've seen some of them for like $29, $28. But if you're looking to buy it now, it's like, you know, mid to low 30s, about $32 to $35. I know it's quite a bit of a markup. Like if you pay with taxes and everything about $35, I know it is quite a bit compared to the retail, but it isn't really that much. You know, you're paying maybe like $7, you know, more than retail, because with taxes included that you would pay at the store anyways. I think it's a great value. It's a great pickup, and it's one of those action figures that I think most Spider-Man or just Marvel Legends collectors or just Marvel fans in general should have. It's like the most classic representation of Spider-Man. It is his first appearance, and I think it's one of those figures that people just desperately need in their display. But again, this video was just to kind of poke fun at the resellers, at scalpers, whatever, however it is that you want to refer to them as, flippers. This is the doomsday. This is their day of reckoning. They're starting to realize that a lot of the figures that they held on to, they have no value. On top of that, it's worth mentioning, and I'm actually against it a little bit, but I think the knockoff market is actually flooding eBay right now and Amazon. So you will have certain situations where it's very difficult to tell which one is original to which one is a knockoff. It's going to get more difficult as time goes by, especially if there's a highly coveted or a highly sought after character or Marvel Legends action figure. If, AliExpress, for example, starts selling these or making them readily available, there may be some people that try to, take advantage of the opportunity of the situation and try to resell them as originals, directly from Hasbro. And I think that's pretty dirty. And as I said, as time goes by, it's going to get more and more difficult to be able to tell the difference. So yeah, there you guys have it. I'm not going to spend too much time rambling and wasting your time and saliva. I just wanted to kind of stick it to them and just showcase some of the more difficult exclusive Marvel Legends action figures over the past couple of years that have actually dropped in value. It's pretty cool. It's neat to see because it gives us a second opportunity to pick up some figures that maybe just were very difficult to find. That new Venom, it's probably an outlier and it's kind of frustrating, but you have, for example, a Target exclusive Carnage that if you don't have a go-to prototypical Carnage, this is the one to get. I think it comes with the extra accessories that we desperately need. And so, there are some great examples of figures that maybe are being sought after by newer collectors. Maybe they weren't collecting at the time, or they just didn't really believe in going out hunting. They figured they could just pre-order stuff, and the pre-order windows maybe were too small. So this is a second chance at some of those figures. But as always, this is just my personal opinion, my personal thoughts. Let me know down below in the comment section, which action figure are you happy to see dropping in value, whether it's on eBay or Amazon? Which one are you looking forward to purchasing in person? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, if you guys enjoy this type of content, make sure to stay tuned. We do this pretty consistently. We're up to on daily basis uploading. And as I said, if you guys enjoy it, stick around. It's pretty fun. I love putting these videos together for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy it as much as I love putting them together. So thank you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.